So this year, Amaze features Enchanted Controllers, a special exhibition on the practice of creating alternative controllers. If you haven't seen it, it's all the way in the back and up the stairs. It's a beautiful exhibition. And the controller as an input device is our tool to interact with the game world. It shapes our idea of what a game is and what it means to play. In this next panel, Janin, co-director of Sick House and the Overkill Festival, will moderate a conversation between Robin Baumgarten, Emilie Breslavetz, Gus Boehling, and Matt Bethancourt, 4 artists who are exhibiting their work at Enchanted Controllers. They will speak about their experience, their inspiration, and the challenges and hopes on making alternative controllers. Please give them a round of applause.
So I made it alternative, but I would like you to participate just to warm up a bit the room and to help them feel comfortable with all of you. We have a nice setup of chairs, but we don't want to use it. We want to find an alternative way of sitting here, but we would like also that all of you reconsider your way of sitting. It's a very traditional way of doing lecture. I'm a bit surprised. And I don't know if you chose your seat or if you just sat somewhere like quickly, but maybe rethink about this. We don't have to make a mess. Like, sorry, I don't want to make a mess. But just rethink, where are you sitting? Is this really the way you want to sit? Is it really the person you want to sit next to? And so take 2 minutes. Well, we are taking 2 minutes, and then we find a very comfortable way of spending 45 minutes together. Yes? Don't ask questions. Okay, and I'm not going to sit here.
Oh, we're definitely going to use these, no?
Yes? Okay, some creativity here. I think we're better here. But it's all right. I hope we're going to have a nice discussion this way. I have to sit next to the computer, so I could be more creative too, but I have to sit next to this. So, my papers are here. We are, for 45 minutes together, we're gonna talk about alternative controllers, enchanted things, and I'm here with 4 wonderful artists, maker, game developers, whatever, and they're gonna introduce themselves a little bit, but I just like name them, then you know who is where, and then you're gonna see a little bit of their work in the screen, if I manage. But this is to present this artwork that are in the exhibition. So for the people who did not see it yet, then you have an idea what we're talking about. For the people who saw it, then it's again, and it's wonderful. And for the people online, I don't know if there's people online, but then they understand a little bit what's happening. So we have here Gus Boehling, we have here Matt Bethancourt, we have here Emilie, I'm sorry, your last name, Breslavetz, and we have here Robin Baumgarten. And I don't know in which order of this video, but we'll see. Do we see something? This is the video of Gus, but we don't see it here. It's on my computer. I did something.
Here, man, no, it's just on the other screen.
Oh. So that you know, it's Gus, Emilie, Matt, and Robin. Then you know,
There you
no
go.
surprise.
Oh, you see any?
No.
No?
Ooh. Oh, he's here.
It's there. Ooh. Oh. Cool. Probably this lesson will go here, though.
Yes. This is the work of Gus here, waxing. Can you tell us a bit about you and about this work we've seen here?
Hello, thank you for having me. My name is Gus. I'm from the state of New York in the country of the United States of America. I'm part of a team called Common Opera, which is myself and two of my colleagues. We're here showing a game called Waxwing, which is a light gun game. Well, a light gun setup used to do we call it kind of, I guess, precision navigation game, where you sort of set targets back and forth to weave a character through a level. We built an arcade machine, like a full cabinet for it, which lives in New York, and then built a much smaller sort of console version of it to travel around and show at events, which is what is here and upstairs. Thank you so much for playing it. Thank you.
Welcome, welcome. The next video, I hope. Yes. This is Emilie here.
Hi, so I'm Emilie. I'm French, from France, Paris. And so I made the crash board in the exhibition, which is a game that can be played with a real skateboard. And we have a nice LED LEDs, and we can surf into the cyberspace. So it was a common work with Léon Denise, who made the application game, and I made the ad world, because I'm a playful artist and I make a lot of stuff like this.
So we're going to finish the video, then you have a very good idea of how to play, but you can challenge each other upstairs in the exhibition. This is beautiful footage of my festival. And what was the high score? Do you know if there's like one high score?
The high score today is 172. If you can't beat it, it's okay, because tomorrow I'm gonna reset the scores to 0, because I think there's gonna be a lot of shield ones, so I want them to have their chance to high score too.
Nice.
And you can see this version was a little different from the one we showcased today. It's because we are doing a lot of iteration and making the game evolve more, and we have even more plans for the future, so stay tuned. And Léon is there.
So this was Crashboard from Emilie Breslavetz, and the next video is the work of Matt Bethancourt, and then what you're going to see on the screen is an older version, right? It's a different version from what's in the exhibition, so but kind of works the same. Right?
Yeah, hi, I'm Matt. I make work under the name Mouse and the Billionaire, and this project is called Lest 10 Horizons Cry. It's a collaboration with the What Lab at the Atlas Institute of CU Boulder, Colorado. And it's an alternative control synthesizer experiment game. So looking at how can we use the trappings of synthesizers to control game puzzle elements. And yeah, this is an older version. We have 2 new ones that we built that are up on the back. Thanks.
Thank you, Matt. And the last video is from Robin. Yes.
Yes. Hello, I'm Robin Baumgarten. I'm based here in Berlin. I make weird installation art and playful games. This is my newest experiment I made together with Philipp Helldorfer, and it's called Hyper Wobbler. And it's played on this two-way mirror dodecahedron, where on each edge of the dodecahedron is an LED strip, and you play it. You play characters on these LED strips. You need to find yourself in this kind of weird mirror dimensions and cooperatively complete goals together. This is a very new experiment. It's only finished 3 days ago. So it is a bit rough around the edges, but that's kind of how I like to work. Philip was building this kind of cool mirror dodecahedron. I said, oh, this needs to be interactive, and what can we make on it? So the gameplay is very fresh, very raw. It has some flaws, but you're all my beta testers, so you can give me feedback. But I already have a lot of things I want to change, and but that's kind of how I work and how I like to build these things and have them fresh and last minute. And yeah, maybe you've seen the line wobbler that is also for me, that is kind of in the DNA of this game, and it's also on show at the Punke Gallery, if it still works. I think someone yesterday was really rough to it, so need to do some gentle care.
That's part of alternative controller,
sure.
I feel. It's care. Very nice. Now everybody knows who's here and what we're going to explore in this time. The first topic, or I would like to talk about, is well the object of this alternative controller, and what does it mean to you? And is this a starting point, or is this like after point? So I was thinking about this object we have in this exhibition, especially when they are in the exhibition setup. It's like a sculpture, like there's something very sculptural about it. And I was curious if you think about them like this, is it also an object in the space, or yeah? So I don't know who wants to start. I mean, maybe Robin is the obvious first, but you can take a bit of time to think about it and react to this.
So in this case, it's definitely an object. I mean, it was an object first before it was a game, right? So I saw this mirror object and said, oh, this would make a cool starting point for an interactive experience. And that's where we started, and that's what it is. So it is definitely an object first, and now a game second as well. And hopefully with a bit more polish, and eventually we arrive at a good game as well that kind of uses the object to its fullest, right? So that I used all the mirrors, all this weird that you need to look around things, and that's what I want to work towards. And that's so I'm going to use this object and make it into a game. But it's definitely object first in this case.
Nice. Is it the same for you, Emilie? I know that you, like, now we see a skateboard, so that's, I can imagine this is the starting point. I saw you did a work with a coffee grinder, so I can imagine this also invites certain interactivity or movement.
Yes, actually, the skateboard wasn't the starting point. I made a big mistake because I wanted to literally surf into the cyberspace. So you do surfing with a surfboard. And I bought it. I tried it, started working on it, and then I realized I couldn't take it with me in the train. So I changed it to a skateboard so it could fit in my suitcase, and I could bring it last year to a maze where we exhibited first. So yeah, I'm working on lots of objects, but sometimes I have to think smaller than I want to, because I'm living in Paris in a small apartment, so I have to be smart about this.
Nice, thank you. And so it came from surfing into the web, and then
Yes.
it adapted to skating the web. So,
But it's actually easier with a skateboard, because now we're using the trucks, and the first prototype didn't have the trucks. We just had a line of semi-tennis balls, and you needed to have someone to take your hands on the side so you could have the balance on it. It was pretty fun, but for the long term, we preferred using the trucks and allow people to be alone on it.
nice. Do you have? Your work was a commission, so this light gun were kind of part of the object, but you added this old-style candelabra thing. Is this like something you? A coincidence, an object you loved since always, or?
I guess so, but I feel like for us, we kind of approach it almost the opposite of how Robin talks about, where the object is like complementary to the game, and we have the game, and this is what the needs are, and then like I studied sculpture, and you kind of get taught like the pedestal and how you present something is part of the thing that you're presenting, like if you look at like Isamu Noguchi's work, and it's very like, oh, which part is the pedestal and which is the thing, and there kind of isn't a difference. So it's like when you're putting forth a game, and you've got this really involved like software, and then you're just showing it on like a Republic of Gamers laptop. It's a little bit like this sort of like takes out some of the context that this is capable of, and so we kind of want to build controllers that will really like stick the landing of like, this is what we want the experience of this game to be, and we're extending that out into the physical space, like with a piece of hardware that will really like complement the thing that we've started within the computer.
Nice. That the arcade is actually the whole sculpture. It's a very nice way of rethinking a lot of arcades. So Nice. And you, Matt, I mean, it comes from this modular synthesizer kind of world, I imagine.
Yeah, most of the work that I do, I think I start with the thing first. And so this one, even though like the idea was like sound synthesis in general, like I think I love modular synthesizers, and so obviously it was like, cool, what can we do to make that synthesizer then become a game-like element? And so we were looking at like, what's on a synth? You have knobs and you have patch bays and you have sliders and you have all these different things, and it's just kind of, bringing it down to just the most basic. So just using the dials as the only input device, and then going from there. But yeah, I think most things we start with like the object first. Like we do a lot of phones. It's a lot of like taking normal objects and then saying like, oh, how can you make a game out of that? So Danny Rankin, my collaborator who's over there. Say hi, Danny. There you go. He has spent a lot of work like being like, how can I make this phone work like a phone, but also like we rip completely the guts out and like rebuild it. So there's a lot of that, which is kind of fun.
Nice. And so now we talk about this object, but then the knobs and the lights and these mirrors, they all have like a very specific materiality. Is this also something you are curious about, like the wood you pick, the knob you select, or the quality of, I don't know, what are the I don't know if in the material you used for the 3D printing, is it things that you care about, or you have a special relation to it?
Yeah, absolutely. I would say, like the making of the thing is so much of the fun part for me, of like the using my hands and crafting. It's like this nice dovetail with the software side of it.
Yeah, I think also when we build hardware games, I mean, it's the whole thing is that it's different from normal controllers and a touch screen. So this interaction point is very important, right? And then also, when we build our own things, I really realize how quickly things can break, right? And then that is also an important factor. It's not only like maybe how nice it looks, but also how practical it is to survive, right? And I've been going, so my favorite medium at the moment is metal springs. So I like springiness, like the tactility of them. And I've learned much more about springs than I even wanted to, but it's like, there's different spring steel, and there's stainless steel, and one rusts and one is more strong, and there's different diameters, and they all behave differently, and it's all interesting to learn. And now I installed one in a kids museum, and then suddenly everyone's saying, oh, be careful, everything will break in the first day. The kids are rough, they know no bounds. And so I needed to make it stronger, and suddenly it felt really different. I said, oh, this is really nice, and is it different? But I embraced it, and it's like, okay, this is coming from necessity, but it is now a different object, but it's still really cool. And this morphed the experience, like this kind of necessity as well. And so it's also outer factors that kind of determine how it looks and how it feels. But definitely that's kind of what I'm thinking about all the time, Oh, should I really use stainless steel? Should I put some plating? But what if people are allergic? And all this thinking about it, is very interesting, and it's very important.
How many do you have in your studio or in your home? How many springs?
6,000 about.
Nice. Is this? I mean, it blends a bit in the next question, but we can start with you. Like, you can also maybe talk a bit about your workspace. Like, where are you working, and then how does this connect to your material? But I like that. I mean, it's maybe nice to share the limitation or the luxury. Maybe you have like amazing stuff that people realize. Like this constraint you have, like traveling, is very interesting. That it really transforms your game. So maybe we can also do both, like talk about material and workspace.
Actually, the making of the game, it's like the same thing as a virtual game. You don't expect people to act the way they will act in the video game. They can find bugs you don't know about, except with hardware, they can break it, and you have to be prepared to repair it or just shut it down for the rest of the festival. So it's kind of frustrating, and so I'm trying to make it as solid as it can. For example, I have 3 installations that I'm completely remaking, so they can be more easier to install and less breakable also. And well, I work. Sometimes I work from home. I do all the electronics from home. It's where I'm more comfortable. But to make all the woodwork, the printing, I go to Fab Labs. I have 2 Fab Labs where I go, and also a little workshop where a friend allows me to go.
Nice, nice. So it becomes a bit collaborative work. Do you have a workspace or?
I just have a home studio that I work in. So the What Lab that I did the collaboration was a lab I started at CU. So I used to have that lab, but now I'm in Montreal at Concordia University. So I've left all of my stuff in Colorado, including in my house, I had like a wood shop. So that was really hard for this project where I'm like, I want to make a big thing out of wood and I have no tools. So I had to go out and buy a new saw and sandpaper. I just didn't have anything. And so it was a little frustrating, but I just like making things in wood, so it's okay.
And are you going to rebuild this workspace in your new home?
Yeah, I think so. I think I'm already like getting more. For some reason, when I moved, I was like, I'm never going to need that. It'll be fine. And then immediately I needed to start making things. So yeah, I'll probably rebuild it. And yeah, love it.
So it's something like a place where you go anytime, or is it something you share with other people, or it's really like your home?
It's in my home.
Yeah.
And yeah, so it's just me. It's just my little space. And it has like there's like a weird little basement room in there as well. So it's like I can do woodwork in there and not worry about noise and dust.
Nice, comfortable. And you, how's your work situation?
There's spaces at a premium in New York. This was specifically very kind of like hyena style, like a little bit of everywhere. Most of the woodworking I did by like running an extension cord up to my roof and like doing the routing up on the roof and like using the saws and stuff. I did some of the cutting in my room, but certain things have a little too much dust. There's a arcade where the cabinet lives, which is where I built that. But it's also a bar, so at 4 p.m. it becomes a bar and people start streaming in, and so that makes things a little difficult to use as a workspace. There's actually a local nonprofit which just got a workspace that's going to be like a workshop for building arcade hardware, which feels revelatory and like it would make this answer extremely different if that had happened 6 months ago rather than like a week ago, so I'm excited about that.
Yeah, exactly. Amazing. It means like you can maybe build more in more easy ways in the future. Cool.
Yeah, it feels like they're solving a problem that everyone who does this has, and it's cool.
Nice. And so, if I understand quite... Oh, no, Robin, you did not tell us, but you have like a... Is it also because it's...
Yeah, no, I love this new space. That sounds amazing. I want to move to New York now and work from there. But this is really this is really important. Also, this aspect of collaboration. So in the beginning, I mean, I also worked from home at first, but suddenly my project started exploding in size. Now I mentioned the 6,000 springs. My partner was getting so upset. I had like, these cardboard boxes everywhere of LED strips lying around. But now, luckily, I found a workshop space here in Berlin. Is Motion Lab, and that's really good. It's a really big one. It's a more professional one, a bit more expensive, so I need to be careful with my projects. But they have space, and what they also have, and what's really important, also in the Fab Labs, I guess, is that there's other people that know so much stuff that I had never known about, like metalworking, also circuit board design, which I really got into now, but I had no idea. I'm like a software person to start with. But it's so much fun, and then you just need someone, hey, yeah, it's super easy, I'll show you, and that's really the spirit you get in these kind of communal workshops that is super important, and especially for alt control, which is always like weird things happen. It's not just on the screen, you have the software bugs, but then you have the hardware bugs as well, and like people know so much, and then you can go so deep into just connectors, for example. Connectors are always the bane of my life, and each version of my games I change the connectors, and I have 20 different versions and still need to change them. It is fun, and so these workshops are really good.
Nice. Is it also something like for all of you? Like, how do you manage when, I don't know, you have this idea, but you don't have all the knowledge for like from electronics to design and software? And is this like, how do you ask people to work with you, or is it always the same people, and then you just have your little team?
I mean, I feel like it's really important to. Like, video games in general are very capable of being collaborative because it's so many different disciplines that, like, no one can do everything well, so it like lends itself really well to just like finding someone who knows how to do it. Like the controllers for our game I didn't fabricate. A friend of mine who's a professional industrial designer who I went to college with, I kind of like was talking to him about the thing and he was like, oh, that sounds cool. I was like, yeah, but I don't know how to like, I'm gonna have to print them and like figure out how to cut them so that like they come together and the pieces work and the trigger works. He was like, send me like a model of the outside and I'll do all that. I was like, oh, okay, cool, thank you. And it's like, it's by far the most like good and well-made part of the thing because it's like a professional did it. Like he knows exactly what he's doing. Those come right together. When you have to fix them, they come right apart. I think about like if I had made those myself, I probably could have figured it out, but it would have been a nightmare every time I have to change a part. Like it wouldn't have been as good. And so I think it's really important and necessary to like, when you don't know how to do something, just like find someone who does, because everybody's a specialist at something.
Yeah. Emilie, I also like because I was thinking about this question because you also share videos of how you make the things, and I find this very, very precious as not only as documentation but as inspiration and as potentially means of distribution for your work. You know, I could imagine somebody who has a 3D printer and a bit of space, maybe, remaking your game, and that you would just, I don't know, sell the kit like how to make Crashboard, and then I just have to find it. Is this something you think about when you do these videos, or is it just for you to recap?
Actually, the first video I made was it was during the COVID, the first confinement, and it was the time where we couldn't really exhibit our stuff, and so I didn't have any playtester for the game I made. I was a little frustrated, and I just think I'm gonna make a video, and I liked it, and it was pretty successful, so I kept doing it each time, and now it's like my marque de fabrique. My brand. Thank you. Yes, and it's not really a DIY teaching way of doing things. I mean, if you know the stuff and you look at my videos, I think you can remake the thing. But if you're not really in the game of alternative controllers, it's not gonna give you a lot of advice to remake it. It's more like a show off.
Also nice, also very nice. Is this something, now if we jump into this, like, how do we present the games, who's going to play the games, like, because now we are in this wonderful festival exhibition setup, like there's a lot of people trying your games, but then this festival is over, where do your work go? Because I don't know, it's not easy to get your arcade at home or to make other people play. Is this something you care about? Is this something you found a magical solution, or you think, yeah, well, it's like a unique piece and I go from exhibition to exhibition and that's also fine? I don't know who wants to start. Or
for me, it's unique. Like the purpose is to bring something here and put it in front of people, because they're so exploratory and experimental, at least the things that I'm trying to do right now. And so it's getting feedback and then moving on to the next thing. So it's here, and then people get to use it, and then it kind of doesn't, that's it.
That's it. So and then then this object is evolving, like this object disappear after a maze or what, and then it's integrated into the next.
Yeah, I'll probably keep it around and look at it longingly for like a year, and then I'll be like, I actually need that piece in there, and so I'll rip it out. But for a while, it'll sit on a shelf and look great.
Okay.
Yeah.
Is this something you recognize or not? No, you keep preciously your...
I keep it preciously. I'm very attached to objects, but with time you also have to find place to put everything. So my apartment currently is like a giant Tetris game for installations, and I know it's not going to be sustainable in the long term. So you have to let go at one point, I guess.
But you're not like, I mean, your arcade is not yours anymore, right? Is this landed, or because it's at this arcade place, like in New York, right?
Yeah, the cabinet actually lives at there's a very cool and, like, as far as I know, kind of unique place in New York called Wonderville, which is a bar which supports an arcade, which is kind of all sort of like cabinets made mostly by people in the community, some by people outside the community that are still kind of like on the indie scale. Like they have Nidhogg too, and he doesn't live there, but it's like that's where the cabinet lives, and I feel like that. To me, I really like having the thing be able to finish and like exist in a space where people can sort of like interact with it, and it doesn't have to take up space in my living room because I also don't have that much of that. So I don't know. That feels like the big kind of question is like, where do you put it that people can interact with it? And the more of those spaces there are, the more big rooms have space to fill up with these things. I think would be really cool because it's also just a cool experience to be able to not go and interface with stuff like this once a year in Berlin, Germany.
Yeah.
Like having a little place everywhere that you can just go on the weekend and be like, oh, like what do they have? Like this stuff is cool. Like, oh, this game is great. Like, oh, they've got a new thing. Like, I feel like is a really exciting thing that I sort of have started taking for granted because we have one, and then I come anywhere else and it's like, oh, we have a really special thing. I wish that more places had something like this.
Okay, it's an invitation. More places like this, please. And I mean, Robin, your installation also live in museum, so that's also a nice. Place.
I mean, there's two parts to this answer, I guess. So when I make these objects, or in general, I like to kind of experiment a lot with small things. Like bottom-up approach works well for me. Like doing little sensors, seeing, oh, this works well, and I can use this to make an object. Or like here, it's the dodecahedron, and it's like, oh, this is actually good. And I used to go to a lot of game jams with hardware. So in 1 year I did like 20 or 30. It was crazy. Not anymore. But I didn't. You need to kind of kill some of those games. So it's like some of those things that come out of this are not good, or like I don't like them enough to keep them around, and it's not possible. So I'm not as precious anymore about my babies. So some of them I kind of keep polishing. I go bring them to events like this and see, okay, how do people react to this? Is this cool? Do people are really happy with this? And then some of them I take further. So the one that went furthest maybe is the line wobbler.
Yeah.
So that was also premiered kind of here 9 years ago now, a long time ago.
Wow.
And that stayed also like kind of an object. I made a few copies all by hand, but they all went into like festivals, museums like this. So they weren't really sold as a toy. I mean, they live in this weird space between all these objects, I guess, between toy, art, arcade, right? And then it's kind of the question, okay, where do you want to go? Where, and also like, it's a business of a bit of a business decision as well. And I don't like any kind of business thing, so I just said, I'm just going to make my own things and show them as art, and then I have a precious few. But yeah, so that's, I show them at these festivals and events. Yeah.
And is this now you put the point on this money thing? Is this like maybe one short question and then we skip the money? Is this something you think about when you do this controller? Is this, or you all have another job and you don't care about money for the alternative controller?
Yeah, I'm lucky enough to be in academia, so I don't have to worry about it, which is good because I would never make money. I'm terrible at it.
You?
The cabinet itself was actually funded by a grant from the local government, and the version here was actually commissioned by this organization, We Throw Switches, who saw the cabinet and were like, oh, can we have this at an exhibition? And we were like, we can't ship you the cabinet. But if you have like a budget, we can make you a smaller version of it. Nice. And so actually this has been living in LA after the event we built it for, and now we're finally going to get to give it to them because we're in Europe.
Da, da, da.
But it's like we all have other jobs, but can be a bit of a sink to like build a thing specifically for it. If I like the game enough, I'm willing to go in a little bit for it, but it can't like go into production like without some kind of, you can't produce more than one version of it without some kind of funding source. Also, Wonderville, the place I was talking about, has line wobbler. We have a line wobbler in New York.
Yes. Do you want to talk about money or?
Yes, well, I'm poor, so I made a few residency where there was a grant, so it was great to make the controllers, but most of the times I'm funding my own stuff and doing a little freelancing aside, and I try to buy the cheapest component possible and sustainable materials, so it's not too expensive.
And do you all have like a wish about this? Is it okay to be poor and we accept, okay, we do weird stuff so it can't please too many people and it doesn't matter? Or do you want something else? Or are you angry at some... I mean, I don't know if my question is the right way of putting this out there, but do you have a wish for alternative controller makers to change something?
Well, yes, because for now I'm okay with that, but I feel like I'm gonna be tired very fast, and I think I'm gonna have to slow down on making new stuff. So yeah, more money for alternative controllers, please.
Yes. And I talk about it because I think a lot of people don't dare to talk about money. And this is something I learned from the Netherlands. I'm based in the Netherlands, and they are a bit pragmatic about this. And I find this good. That it's annoying, it's boring, but that could be the first part, and then we can talk about the fun thing. So I would invite you, maybe talk about it a little bit more with the people who invite you to event, or who like, I don't know. I talk about money a little bit. So
anyone wants to buy a copy of Waxwing, we'll sell you one.
Yes, no, but I say this because I have a little space in the Netherlands, and then I think, of course, we want this. So if we talk about it, if we are, I'm aware that it cannot be free. We can put numbers on this, and then we take, okay, it will take me 10 years to have enough money, but then I can plan this, and then it doesn't have to be awkward. It's just like, oh yeah, in 10 years I can get your arcade, yay, maybe faster. So the last is like we have 3 minutes, and maybe we're gonna have 1 minute for you guys if you have questions. But I just wanted to drop first, like, do you have now a different relationship to all these boring and regular controllers that other people are doing? Do you hate them, or do you don't know how to manipulate them anymore, or do you like yeah, it's just something? I don't know.
No, I think they're good because they're normal and boring, and so we're more different that way. No, but it's obviously nice to have a lot of variety out there. And I mean, even the big players, sometimes they go a bit into alt controller in terms of accessibility, which is quite important as well. It's a whole different area of alt control, which we haven't even touched.
No, it was here. Skip it.
Yes, if we have another hour, can we?
Yeah.
Yes. But no, I mean, obviously it's a whole different market, right? So games for the masses are great too. No, everyone wants to play. Not everyone can afford, €1,000, 2,000, 5,000 euros for an arcade. So it's nice to have these cheaper alternatives as well. And so I'm not kind of fighting against them in a way.
No.
Okay. No to what? What are we saying no to?
Not fighting, yeah. Traditional controllers are great, right? I feel like what we're doing, at least for what I'm doing, a lot of it is like exploring, like, is this thing, whatever it is, fun or playful? And sometimes the answer is no, right? Where a traditional controller, it's like, yes, that works really well. And so I'm glad that they work really well. And then it's nice to make something that it kind of explores, like, is there another way to interface with it and play with it? And so, yeah, not a fight.
We have 1 minute. Somebody has one question. Yes.
Game controllers are garbage. Alt control's better. But I just wanted to say, regarding like the artifacts that you're creating, have you considered or experimented with like making them available for other developers to experiment and design experiences for? Like, for example, Emilie's skateboard game, the idea of that being used for by other devs to make those kind of experiences. Thanks.
Yes, well, it's another side of my job. my job is that I'm trying to find some games that I like and putting alternative controllers on it when they are not thought on it. So there is a few skateboard games that exist and that I would like to put crash board on it. I mean, a modified version, see if it works. But nobody really asked me for now to make it for their game.
I think we have to stop this discussion. We could indeed talk about a lot of other things. We did not talk about the players at all. We ignored everybody. We did not talk about this accessibility, approachability of the alternative controllers. So this is something I hope you're gonna experience yourself in the exhibition and then keep on thinking about. And then maybe the next discussion we focus on this. I don't know if you're happy if people come and talk to you. If yes, so come and talk to this wonderful artist. And I don't know what's coming next, but Pablo will announce this. Thank you for being here with us today.